There are moments in life when silence is not emptiness, but a language older than words, speaking softly through the spaces we leave behind. When someone turns away, when your presence is taken for granted, it may feel like a fracture, but look closer, and you will see a pattern forming, threads weaving through time itself. The universe is not careless with its lessons. Even neglect and absence are part of its orchestration. Your worth does not vanish when unseen. It simply waits quietly like a star beyond the clouds, certain that dawn will come. In the vastness of this existence, every pause, every overlooked gesture, is a note in the symphony of your becoming. So do not rush to fill the silence. Let it echo, let it teach, let it carve out the space where your light will shine undeniable. For in the grand design of your journey, even being ignored is a brushstroke in something eternal. You know, there's something almost magical about silence. We don't talk about it much because it feels uncomfortable. When someone ignores you, when they don't call back, when they look right through you as if you don't even exist, it stings. It feels like rejection, like erasure. But what if I told you that silence is not emptiness? What if I told you that it's actually a sacred space, an opening for something far greater than you've been taught to expect? Think about it. Life isn't just noise and applause and constant validation. Life is built just as much in the quiet moments as it is in the loud ones. A seed doesn't grow because someone shouts at it every day. It grows because it's held in stillness, nourished in the dark earth, unseen, uncelebrated, until one day it breaks through the surface and everything changes. That's what your silence can be. That's what it means when someone ignores you. It's not that you've disappeared. It's that you've been given a chance to deepen your roots. I want you to consider this. When someone ignores you, the first thing that rises up is often a rush of panic. What did I do? Why am I not enough? Should I try harder? Should I make them see me? But what if instead of chasing, you paused? What if you let the silence stretch? What if you sat in that space and really listened, not for their response, but for your own heartbeat, your own inner voice that says, quietly but clearly, I'm still here. I've always been here, and I am enough. That shift is everything. Because here's the truth. People are allowed to look away. People are allowed to be blind to the brilliance right in front of them. And you are allowed to stop shrinking yourself just to make them look again. In fact, you're not only allowed, you're called to it. To stand still, to stand tall. To let that silence turn into a canvas where you paint a version of yourself so vivid, so grounded, so alive that their ignoring you doesn't diminish you 1 ounce. There's a rhythm to life that most of us miss because we're too busy trying to force our way into someone else's story. But what if their silence isn't a punishment? What if it's an invitation, a divine one even, to remember that your worth was never supposed to be dependent on anyone else's recognition? That's what makes this powerful. Because when you stop scrambling for someone else's attention, you start reclaiming your own. And that's the thing nobody tells you. Silence is a mirror. It shows you how desperately you've been seeking permission to feel valuable. And once you see that, you can step back and realize you don't need that permission. Not from him, not from anyone. You can breathe in that quiet and feel the ground beneath your feet, solid and steady, holding you up no matter who is watching. So when someone ignores you, you don't have to throw a tantrum or spiral into self-doubt. You don't have to chase. You get to lean into that silence and let it do what it does best. Grow you, strengthen you, sharpen the edges of your truth until you shine. Because the price of ignoring you. It's not something you scream at someone. It's something they feel when they realize they missed the chance to witness your becoming. And that, right there, is power. Never forget. Silence doesn't erase you, it amplifies you. You know, the funny thing about life is how much it loves to move in cycles. Presence and absence. Connection and distance. It's not just in relationships. It's in the tides, in the seasons, in the way day gives way to night and night gives way to day without either one apologizing for taking up space. We're all so quick to think that when someone pulls away or ignores us, something's gone wrong. But what if that distance isn't a door slamming shut, but part of a much bigger rhythm that's been playing since the beginning of time? Think about it. You've stood on a beach, right? You've watched the waves. They roll in, they roll out. If you judge the ocean by the moment the water pulls back, you'd think it was abandoning the shore, but we know better. We know that pullback is just the ocean gathering itself for another wave, something new, something different, something inevitable. Relationships, connections, they're not linear. They're not supposed to be constant applause and steady attention. They move, they breathe. They contract so they can expand. When someone ignores you, it's easy to slip into the story that you're unworthy or forgotten. But what if instead you saw it as a kind of tide going out, a natural ebb in the dance of connection that doesn't erase what you are, but instead shapes it, because your presence, your essence, doesn't vanish just because someone's eyes aren't on you at this exact moment. You're still part of that intricate weave, that cosmic choreography where every step, every pause, every silence has meaning. Sometimes we forget that absence has its own form of intimacy. When someone isn't around, you start to notice how they've shaped you, what parts of yourself come alive in their presence, and what parts you've been neglecting when you're so focused on their gaze. That's the beauty in these moments. They force you to stop measuring your worth by someone else's immediate reaction and instead tune into your own frequency, your own rhythm in the dance. You might think, but if they cared, wouldn't they show it? Wouldn't they be here? Maybe. Or maybe their journey right now takes them through their own shadows. Maybe they can't see you because they're lost in their own storm. That doesn't mean the connection is broken. It means the dance is shifting. And your role in that shift matters, even if you don't see how just yet. The interconnectedness of life is wild when you really think about it. A stranger's kindness ripples through your day. A single choice years ago leads you to the room you're sitting in right now. Someone ignoring you, that's not just an isolated event. That silence might be carving out space in you, creating a capacity to hold more love, more patience, more wisdom than you ever thought possible. So instead of tightening up, instead of scrambling to close that gap, what if you softened into it? What if you trusted that life isn't punishing you, it's teaching you? The tide will come back in. The night will turn to day. And in the meantime, you have this moment, this sacred, potent moment, to anchor yourself in who you are, to feel how deeply you belong in this unfolding, even when someone else's attention drifts. Because here's the truth, your value isn't diminished by someone's absence. In fact, it's often in those moments that your value reveals itself, bright and undeniable, like stars that only appear when the sun steps aside. When presence fades, your light doesn't go out. It finally has room to shine. There's this moment that happens after you've sat with the silence, after you've stopped chasing and started breathing again. It's subtle, almost like catching your reflection in a window at night. You suddenly see yourself differently. And it hits you, you are not just this one person standing in this one circumstance, hoping someone will finally turn around and see you. You are carrying something far bigger than that. When someone ignores you, it feels so personal. It feels like they're dismissing all of you, your heart, your effort, your very existence. But here's the thing most of us forget in that sting. We're not just here to be seen by someone else. We are here as reminders. Living, breathing reminders of something the world itself needs to remember. There's a presence inside you, call it life, call it spirit, call it whatever you want, that is so much bigger than this single interaction. And every time you choose not to shrink, not to beg, not to contort yourself to fit someone's attention span, you embody that presence. Think about how the universe works. Stars don't shine because someone claps for them. They shine because that's what they were born to do. They're out there burning with their own fire, even when nobody's looking up. And here's the incredible part. When someone finally does look up, they don't just see a light. They see a map. They see something ancient and steady that makes them feel small in the best way. That's you. That's what you're meant to be in someone's life. Not a desperate flicker trying to be noticed, but a constant, grounded light that says, I exist beyond your attention, and I'm not going anywhere. When you stop obsessing over who's ignoring you, you start tapping into that bigger truth. You realize your worth isn't tied to their recognition. It's tied to your existence. You begin to see that you've been placed here, right here, in this life, in this body, in this moment, for reasons that stretch far beyond anyone's approval or neglect. And when you stand in that, when you let that truth fill you up, you become something unforgettable, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. People who ignore you, they're caught up in their own noise. They don't realize what they're overlooking, but that's not your job to fix. Your job is to keep showing up as the universe's own reminder that life and love and worth and meaning are always bigger than who sees them at any given moment. You're here to be living proof that even when someone else looks away, the magic of who you are doesn't fade. So don't shrink. Don't twist yourself into something smaller. Don't waste your energy teaching someone how to value you through words or arguments. Teach them through presence. Teach them through how deeply you inhabit your own life, how fully you honor your own spark. Because when someone finally realizes what they've ignored, it won't be because you shouted. It'll be because you never stopped shining while they weren't looking. To overlook you is to overlook the universe itself, and that is a price too high for anyone to bear. There comes a point in your life when you have to stop waiting for someone else to tell you that you matter. We're conditioned from such a young age to look outward for proof, proof that we're lovable, proof that we're worthy, proof that we're enough. And when someone ignores you, when they brush past you like you're invisible, it feels like that proof has been ripped away. But let me tell you something, your worth was never supposed to be kept in someone else's hands. When someone ignores you, it's so tempting to think, if I just do more, if I just show them, if I just say the right thing, maybe they'll see me. And so you try. You overextend. You twist yourself into shapes that don't even feel like you anymore, just to earn a look, a nod, a word. But even when that person turns toward you, it's fleeting, because you've handed over the power to define your value. And as long as your worth is dependent on someone else's gaze, you'll always be scrambling. But something amazing happens when you stop. When you pull all that energy back and turn it inward. When you start asking, what do I see when I look at me? What do I feel when I sit in my own presence? That's when you start to remember who you were before you thought you had to prove yourself. That's when you feel the quiet strength that's been there all along, the part of you that doesn't rise and fall with someone's attention span. Your worth isn't transactional. It's not a paycheck you get for being noticed. It's inherent. It's woven into the fabric of who you are, like the steady hum of your own heartbeat. And the moment you reclaim that truth, something shifts, not just inside you, but around you. People feel it. They feel that you're not operating from lack anymore, that you're not out here hustling for crumbs of validation. You've tapped into something steadier, something undeniable. And here's the twist. When you stand in that place, when you carry yourself with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth, you teach people in ways words never could. You don't have to beg someone to see you. Your very being becomes the lesson. You show them that ignoring you isn't neutral, it's costly. It means missing out on someone who knows their value, someone who brings depth and light simply by existing as they are. You are not here to audition for your own life. You're not here to convince someone else that you're worthy of their time. You're here to live fully, to step into your own skin and fill it with everything you are, your quirks, your wisdom, your fire, your heart. And when you do that, you stop making your worth conditional. You stop waiting for a nod that might never come, and you start living like the nod has already been given, because it has. Life itself handed it to you the moment you took your first breath. So the next time someone ignores you, Let it be a mirror, not a verdict. Let it remind you to stop searching out there and start standing right here in yourself. Because when you know what you bring to the table, you stop begging for a seat, and anyone who overlooks you, they're the ones who lose, not you. When you know your worth, being ignored becomes their loss, not yours. There's this instinct we all have when we feel overlooked, to react, to prove, to fire off a text, to demand answers, to bend ourselves into something we think will finally capture their attention. It's human. We want to be seen. We want to matter. But here's the catch. When you live in reaction, you hand your power over. You start shaping yourself around someone else's lack of vision instead of standing firmly in your own. What if, instead of reacting, you chose to simply embody who you are, to let the truth of you be louder than any attempt to chase or convince? There's something incredibly liberating about deciding that you don't need to throw your energy into making someone look your way. Because when you do that, you stop shrinking. You stop contorting yourself into some smaller, more palatable version of who you think you need to be. It's not about anger. It's not about payback. It's about stepping so fully into your own essence that the act of ignoring you becomes its own lesson. Think about it. When you're rooted in who you are, you're not fragile. You're not swayed by every glance or lack thereof. You become steady, grounded, magnetic in a way that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. And that's the kind of presence people can't ignore for long, not because you're demanding attention, but because you've stopped making attention the point. The power in this approach is that it frees you. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head. You stop wasting nights wondering what you did wrong. Instead, you pour all that energy back into yourself, into your passions, your growth, your joy. And here's the beautiful irony. The less you try to be seen, the more undeniable you become. People feel authenticity. They feel the difference between someone trying to earn their worth and someone simply being their worth. That shift changes everything. You start walking into rooms differently. You carry yourself with a quiet assurance that doesn't need to be loud, because it's real. You no longer need to explain your value. You live it. And whether or not the person who once ignored you ever wakes up to it, that's not your burden to carry. You've already taught the lesson without a single lecture. The truth is, most people are caught up in their own noise. Their ignoring you often has nothing to do with you and everything to do with where they are in their own story. So, why punish yourself by making their blindness mean something about your light? It doesn't. You get to choose right now to embody your essence so fully that their lack of recognition doesn't even register as a wound. It becomes a quiet reminder that your worth was never up for debate in the first place. And when they do realize, when they look back and see what they overlooked, it won't be because you begged them to. It'll be because you kept showing up as yourself, unshaken, unapologetic, and alive in your own skin. That's how you teach someone the price of ignoring you. Not by screaming, not by pleading, but by thriving so undeniably that they can't help but feel the weight of what they missed. Your greatest answer is to live so fully that silence speaks louder than words ever could. There's a moment that sneaks up on you after you've stopped chasing, after you've reclaimed your worth, after you've learned to stand tall in your own light. It's that moment when you realize that the very experience of being ignored, the sting, the silence, the space it created, has quietly forged you into someone you weren't before, someone deeper, someone sharper, someone freer. It's wild when you think about it. We spend so much time resisting those moments in life when we're overlooked, thinking they're detours or punishments. But when you zoom out, when you step back far enough to see the bigger pattern, you start to notice something breathtaking. Those moments were teachers. They didn't just happen to you. They happened for you. They forced you to dig into places you might never have explored otherwise. They nudged you out of old patterns, out of needing permission, and into a space where you could finally meet yourself. And once you've done that, once you've survived the ache and turned it into wisdom, you begin to carry yourself differently. Not heavier, not guarded, but clearer. You know who you are now, not because someone told you, but because you lived through the doubt and the silence and still found your own voice. That clarity is powerful. It makes you magnetic to the right people and almost invisible to the wrong ones, and that's exactly how it should be. Here's the thing nobody really says out loud. You don't actually need everyone to see you. You don't. What you need is to see yourself so completely that whether or not someone else notices becomes irrelevant. And when you get to that place, something beautiful happens. You start attracting people who don't just see you, they value you. They feel the depth you've built. They respect the boundaries you've claimed. They recognize the light you've been tending quietly in your own hands. The person who ignored you, they taught you something too. They taught you where not to place your energy, where not to invest your heart. That's a gift, even if it didn't feel like one at the time. Because now you're not scattering pieces of yourself everywhere hoping someone will hold them. You've gathered them back. You've rebuilt from the inside out. And when you meet new people, when you step into new rooms, you bring the whole of you, not a fragmented version desperate to be completed by someone else's attention. There's a kind of peace that comes with that. You stop replaying old conversations in your head. You stop fantasizing about the perfect comeback. You stop imagining some dramatic scene where they finally realize what they missed, because none of that matters anymore. You're too busy living. You're too busy creating. You're too busy being fully present in your own life to sit around waiting for someone else to catch up. And here's the magic of it. People feel that energy. They feel when someone is rooted in their own worth. They feel when someone is alive in their own story instead of chasing someone else's. That's the point. That's the quiet, powerful way you teach someone the price of ignoring you, not through spite, not through revenge, but by becoming undeniable in the way you live, love, and show up every single day. So if you're in that place right now, if you're feeling overlooked or invisible, I want you to hear me clearly. This isn't the end of your story. This is a chapter that's carving something strong and unshakable into you. Let it shape you, let it refine you, because one day you'll look back on this and realize it wasn't a setback at all. It was the exact moment you stepped into who you were always meant to be. The price of ignoring you is that they'll never again witness the masterpiece you've become.